Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 104 of Photo Critiques. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have already heard I'm no longer accepting images for critique. If you haven't heard that, in the description below this video, I'll have a link where you could see why I'm not doing critiques anymore or not accepting images anymore. I do have about a month's worth of critiques to do, so I'll be doing them through February. So I'm going to get everyone who sent me in images, I'm going to get your work critiqued. And apologize, I'm not doing it any longer, but click that link and you'll find out why. And today, I'm pleased to critique the work of Chris Endress. Chris took these photos from Teton National Park, that's in Wyoming. Some really nice shots. He did mention that a couple of them, I think two of them, were done with a point and shoot. And just looking at this one, I could tell this one was because there just isn't the resolution. A point and shoot, most point and shoots, many point and shoots, don't have the resolution that a DSLR has. And as you could see, too, the 8.1 millimeters is, typically something like a point and shoot would show. In this shot, very nice composition though, and I love the colors, and I love the technically for a point and shoot you did a great job. It just doesn't have the resolution. As you can see, it's just a little bit like soft overall, and a little bit of noise, but it's a really nice composition. Hopefully you could visit this area again and get a shot like this with a DSLR, but a very nice, technically very nice shot. This one too, I believe he said, was with the point and shoot. Sky is phenomenal. Light vignette helps draw your eye towards the middle. Again, if a shot like this too, we just need that resolution. Shot like this too, if you do get back to here with the DSLR, I wouldn't shoot it broad, flat on like this. I would give it a little more depth by coming in on a slight angle, so you get a little more of the sides and a little more of an angle to this, so it's not perfectly horizontal right in the middle of the shot. So get it so it's a little more diagonal, a little more off center. So try something like that. So again, that comes down to what I always say: work the scene. But excellent sky, something to take advantage of. You did a nice job of, even the point and shoot did a nice job of controlling these very, very bright areas and the very, very dark areas. It's a really nice shot. Nice landscape shot. Very well done. We do have this really bright area up here. So I'm not sure if you could have used a smaller, or I should, something like zoomed in a little bit. This lens, you were almost all the way in. Maybe a different lens. If you could get in, 50 millimeters, 70 millimeters, and try to eliminate a lot of this brightness up in here, and you just had this scene here. When you did that, if you did do that, you'd have more detail in these shadow areas, because your camera now is trying to expose for the entire scene, so it's making this area extremely dark and this area extremely bright to try to get a balanced exposure. So if you let's say we're around 70 millimeters and you had more of this area here, you would have more detail in here. Now, of course, you could bring that out in the shadows, something like that. But you could see the idea of what I'm getting at and what I'd like to see you do. So there's the before and there's the after, and you can see we have all this variance of green in here. It really adds to the shot, in my opinion. A really nice shot. 300 millimeters. I think I would have been preferred to be 600, 800 millimeters away from this bear, but it's a really nice shot. Again, it's kind of bullseyed. Consider having it off to the side. Remember the basic rule of thirds. If you could get it in an intersection point of the rule of thirds, typically you have these two lines going this way and these two lines going vertically, and right where they intersect is where you'd like the most interesting part of the subject. In this case, it would be the bear's eye. So consider some rule of thirds type thing, and don't always bullseye the shot. This shot here, I think you mentioned to me that you really need to get an ND filter, and I would agree. On this shot here, 1.6 seconds f of 22. It's just really, I don't know if it's the processing or what, it's just really harsh looking as far as, this look here. It's got a certain art look to it, obviously, which if you're going for, definitely, go for it. But in this case here, I just think it's a little too harsh. With an ND filter, those that don't know, ND filter is called a neutral density filter. It just lets less light in. And the very good ND filters won't have a color shift. So they'll simply let less light hit your sensor. And what that will do with a waterfall, it forces you to use a longer shutter speed, and then it will blur the water. So again, in this branch here is just kind of in the way. I don't know, if had wading boots on or whatever, or you didn't mind getting wet. If you could get in front of this branch, it would have been a much stronger shot without this branch in the shot. And of course, with an ND filter where you didn't have to force the exposure, ISO 800. You could use a tripod, ISO 100, use a 5-10 second exposure at f of 13, f 11, and you would have had a much stronger shot. Don't always stop down your lenses all the way. It won't give you as sharp a picture you think it will, or most people thinks it will. The It will give you the most depth of field. It's true, as you stop your lens down, you get more and more depth of field, but you tend to get not as sharp a picture because of an effect called diffraction, whereas the light that has to travel through that tiny opening of the diaphragm, it just gets distorted. So you want, usually it's 2 to 4 stops up from wide open. So if your lens is a f of 3.5, you're going to go 2 to 4 stops up from that, which is around f8 or so. So f8, f11 in there, and then that'll give you the sharpest picture. And that's what you want to strive for on landscape shots. Shoot around your, that 2 to 4 stops up from wide open, which is around f8, f11. Most of my lenses I shoot around f11, and you need a tripod, you need a neutral density filter, and a really long exposure, and get rid of this branch. In this shot too, this branch is still here, and again you could see the difference. You see those creamy waterfall shots that are very long exposure, and you could see how this is kind of a tweener. It's blurry because the water is moving, but it's just doesn't look as strong as it could look if you used a very long exposure and had it really milky looking. Also, the shot's a bit over processed. You could see this kind of like lean on the branch. So we want to get rid of that. We want to get rid of this branch entirely if possible, and try to get this from an angle. You don't have to have it right in the middle. You could shoot from over here if you can't get rid of this branch. If this is a deep pool, you can't go in front of this branch. You could shoot from an angle, have the branch minimized as much as possible off to the side, and I think it would be a much stronger shot. That's it. Yes, it is. That's it for Chris. Thank you very much for sharing your images with us, Chris. Very well done. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com. I got all kinds of photography stuff over there. And if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you went to YouTube and subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate that a lot. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. I'll talk to you guys soon.